In the United States, the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is in Dallas, Texas this Thursday, where he's addressed CPAC, a powerful conservative conference. The far-right leader received a warm welcome as he told attendees that Hungary under his government stood for traditional family values and hardline immigration policy.
It's fantastic to be here in Texas, the Lone Star State of the great United States of America. If I am correct, Lone Star State means that independence, freedom, and sovereignty are the dearest values in this part of America. Then we have something in common, even in Hungary is over 5,000 miles from Dallas. My country, Hungary, is the Lone Star State of Europe.
To discuss Orban's attendance at that conference, Professor Ian Rafowitz joins me now on the line from New York. Thanks for speaking to us on France 24, sir. At CPAC later on this week, Donald Trump will speak, Steve Bannon will speak, but on the surface, a leader coming all the way from Central Europe feels like a rather unusual choice for a headline speaker. Why do you think Orban's been chosen, and why do you think he's such a popular figure right now on the American right?
Well, Orban is somebody that the American right has developed strong links to over the past few years. There was a gathering of CPAC in Budapest not long ago, in which leading American conservatives traipsed over to Central Europe and essentially celebrated Orban as one of their own. What they have in common, in particular the Trumpist right, you know, the Trumpist version of conservatism that we have now, is this emphasis on a fear of demographic change. If you listen to some of the other things that Orban has said recently, he gave a speech in Romania, I believe, last week, where he denounced Europe's future as a mixed-race society, and one of his top aides, who had been with him for years, resigned and said a Nazi speech reminiscent of Goebbels, I believe. This is from one of his own people who he'd had on as a close advisor for a long time. Steve Bannon has talked in similar terms about demographic and cultural change. In fact, so has Donald Trump. Just briefly, back in 2018, I'll just give you a quote from him. He talked about he argued that Europe had made a quote-unquote big mistake in letting in millions who have so strongly and violently changed their culture. And then he talked about this decision being a quote-unquote shame that changed the fabric of Europe. And then he concluded, quote, "You are losing your culture," end quote. This is exactly the kind of thing that Viktor Orban has been saying about Europe. Trump is saying it about Europe. He's also been saying the same thing about the United States. So we're really talking about people who think very much alike.
They think very much alike, you say, but Viktor Orban is close to Vladimir Putin of Russia, isn't he? He's been critical of Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, during the war in Ukraine. Surely that doesn't sit particularly well with members of CPAC at this time.
Well, you know, it's a good question, right? Donald Trump has not been as strongly pro-Ukrainian, I think, certainly both during his time in office and then since the outbreak of the war. I think in that sense, there is going on within the Republican Party, and at this point, CPAC is essentially indistinguishable from the Republican Party. There are certainly internationalists, people like Mitch McConnell, who are strongly pro-Ukraine and who have worked well with President Biden. But Donald Trump has been ambivalent at best since the invasion of Ukraine by Vladimir Putin. In that sense, I think Trump and those who are like Steve Bannon and others, including Josh Hawley, for example, senator from Missouri, who voted no, the only senator to vote no on the treaty that would bring Sweden and Finland into NATO. You've got this ambivalently pro-Putin, let's call it, or ambivalent toward Putin wing within the Republican Party, and it's represented again here by Trump. I think he's somewhat in a minority there because there are other Republicans who are in a more mainstream position, but that aspect of pro-Putinism is there, reflected both in Trump's orbit and then certainly in Viktor Orban.
Professor